been a long time, innit? Hey guys, it's Az. Welcome back to another video. And I know it's been a long time, 4 months I think, but hopefully now I've sorted everything out. Work has been getting in the way as well. But now hopefully I've been more consistent in uploading and I've got a bang of a video for you today. So let's get straight to it. So yeah, it's been a year now since I've been at Accenture, working in their graduate schemes. I've gone through the training, I've gone through the bench, now I've gone to a client. And yeah, I think when it was September, that was the mark when it reached a year. So today I'm going to be talking about what exactly I've been doing in this whole year, and I'm going to be breaking it down into 3 sections. So the first section is the training period, so it was around 0 to 3 months, around that time. I'm going to be talking about the training that I received, and then I'm going to talk about the second section is when I was on bench. And if you guys have ever been to a consultancy firm, you know what probably the bench is. And then the last period, I'm going to be talking about the exact work that I've been doing during my time on my project. The first part I'm going to be talking about is the training that I did. So the first period of training between September to around like December-ish, that's how long I've had the training period. So I joined Accenture last year in September, and the first period of training we had, it was some basic consultancy training, mainly how to do this, how to speak to a client, how to do like risk issues, stuff like that. It's really basic, it's nothing really hectic. And it really helps you to ease you in first, but obviously during my time it was all virtual, so I don't know how it is now, but it probably is a little bit virtual. This is really basic training, nothing to worry about. If you are going into the program, this is something that's very easy and you shouldn't really worry about it. So after this period, I then went to something more specific. So this will all depend on what stream you're in. If you're working in Accenture, there's different streams. So you have like tech arc, client delivery, software engineer, stuff like that. But for me specifically, I was in a software engineering graduate scheme, and we went through like a 10-week boot camp. It's quite similar to other boot camps you've probably seen online. Let's say like Sparta Global or other firms, they do these similar boot camps, and it's a 10-week full stack development course. So you're going to be learning languages such as JavaScript. You're going to learn about infrastructure as well, so using AWS. You're going to also learn about Docker files. You're going to learn about databases, stuff like that. It's a full stack, so obviously you're going to have the front end, the back end, and the infrastructure. So the training was really good. Me personally, coming from a background of just not really knowing a lot of coding, I knew just the basics, and it really helped me really push up another level in my coding ability. And it also made me realize what I really like. So when I was working in my specific group, when you have to do a project, I really wanted to take part of the AWS infrastructure side. And funnily enough, this is something that translated into my role after, but I'll be speaking to that afterwards. Over time with this training, you meet a lot of your other colleagues. I mean, you're with them for 10 weeks, so 10 weeks is quite a long time. You speak to them. I did have a couple office visits here and there, and the final day was also another office visit in which we presented to more of the Accenture leadership team so they can see what we learned within our 10-week program. So the final presentation, you use all the skills that you utilized in the first 10 weeks. Maybe you'll be broken into a team, so you could be doing the front end part, the back end part, or like me, I was doing the infrastructure part. So the second part in which I was in is called the bench period. And now this was around January to March-ish, April-ish. That was the time period in which I was looking for a role. Now the bench, you might think, what is it? So in consultancy, and this is, you see in other consultancy companies like Capgemini and stuff like that, is a period where you're not on a project. So you're basically on the bench. You're not on a project, but you're not chargeable, and you use this time for either upskilling, so if you want to go for certifications, or you're looking to find other projects to work on. So I remember the first day, I was on the bench. So we done all the training, we completed everything, and then the first day I logged on at 9 AM, and I was just like, what do I do? So you know what I did? No, I'm joking, I didn't do that, man. I mean, I woke up, I pinged a couple of other colleagues, asked them really what do we do, but funny enough, I just started training. So I looked at cloud certifications, so like AWS cloud practitioner certifications, and all of these things are usually paid by your firm. So it's really good to actually do these. So I had resources that were also paid by the firm. So like A Cloud Guru, they have like sandbox environments in which you can play around. There's like really good videos on how to learn about, let's say, a specific software. So like me, it was AWS. And I really used this time to really just upskill my knowledge on AWS. Remember, I did have some basic knowledge during my full stack development course, training course that I did. However, I really wanted to take that to the next level. And during your time on the bench, you're really out here looking for roles. So this can be a difficult period, especially if you're first ever project. You might not have a lot of experience, but you have to basically make like a one-page CV, and you speak to other project managers or other senior members on projects, and you speak to them and you have little interviews with them. It's not like a proper formal interview, but it's just a little chat to see where the project is. It's a chat also to see whether you would be a good fit to the project. So good fit meaning, is your skills good enough? Is there a good place to learn? And don't think of this as like a really grilling down interview. You have to ask questions in the sense that you're going to be going on to this role, and if it's a role that doesn't align with your skill set, there's not really any good to go into that, because you're thinking to yourself, all the time I'm going to be on that project, I'm really not going to learn anything. Let's say for example is I'm a technical person and I don't really want to go into like a BA or PMO role, because my skill set, there's no point of all the things that I've learned in the last 10 weeks is not going to be utilized. So that's why the first few months at Accenture after the training, it was quite difficult finding a role, but I eventually jumped onto a role, and I'm going to be talking about that in this next section. So the final section I'm going to be talking about is my actual role. So you've done the training, I was on the bench, I was upskilling, and now I'm put onto an actual role. And one thing I can tell you is training and then working on an actual client role is completely different. The level and intensity, the tools that you use is completely different, because remember, you're doing actual client work and you're being actually charged out. So you have to make sure that your work is up to the right standard. So obviously the stuff that I learned during my 10-week training period, I did utilize. So let's say the infrastructure part, and it really helped me build a solid foundation. But when you're actually on a client project, that is where you're really tested, and that's where you really learn a lot. So in the last around 4 months, I would say I've learned so much working with, let's say, Terraform. I'll speak about that later. Azure DevOps, working with AWS microservices. I've learned so much within the last 4 months. So now you have the part where is, what is a cloud engineer? So the most basic term in which I can put it is that you have the dev team and they do all their work, and then you need someone to package up this work and distribute it out into a production environment, so out to the website. Now the cloud engineer, there is a sort of mid part in which you have someone that can spin up the infrastructure brand new, so they can use, they'll use like infrastructure as a code, Terraform, some people might use Ansible. These are just scripting languages that allow you to spin up AWS microservices or other cloud microservices. You then also have another part of the role in which you maintain and you make improvements. Here you might be improving the CI/CD pipelines, you might be adding more security scanning software, stuff like that. And it's something that you usually work in when you're maintaining the infrastructure. So all in all, I would say the last 4 months it's been amazing. I mean, you're moving on from training, doing such basic work, but don't get me wrong, the training was great. It really allowed you to really have a solid foundation and then move over to actual client work. The stuff that I learned in training, I'm definitely using now. Maybe not the full stack development in that sense of front end and back end, since I'm obviously on the cloud engineering role, but having that sort of knowledge really does help. Let's say if you need to look into like dev repos and stuff like that. So one thing I would tell people is, if you ever come into Accenture or you ever go into a consultancy company, a lot of people would say to me, is it really good in the sense that you can work different projects? Is it really hard to navigate? And one thing I'll tell them is that it's going back to when you're on the bench. Don't give up in the sense that if you want a specific direction that you want to work in, make sure you pursue that. A lot of people I've spoken to, especially new people that have come into not just Accenture, just consultancy in general, is that they get pressurized. They think, oh, I need to go into this, I need to take whatever role is available. And now if you want to go into, let's say, DevOps, if you want to go into, like, say, cloud engineering, or if you want to go to a developer role, but the only BA roles are available, or like PMO roles are available, just stick to your guns and say, look, I really want to develop my skill set here in this specific area, and that's really what I want to pursue, and that's what I see myself doing in the next few years. That's all I have for today. Yes, I know it's been a long 4 months since my last video, but hopefully I'll be recording more regularly and uploading more regularly as well. Again, like I said, make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, and I'll see you guys next time.